This Choircast podcast is brought to you in part by the Liminal Living Podcast. Liminal, the word 1,000 miles wide but small enough to fit into the present moment. It describes an in-between place. We live most of our lives within this space, not quite ever arriving at our idealistic final destination. We spend so much of our energies on our best impersonation of who we wish we were, until we can't. But in sneaks a dark night of the soul, or perhaps a mystical experience. Our way of being has an error loop introduced. Today we call that deconstruction. Welcome to the Liminal Living Podcast, where we teach you how to be here, how to traverse these spaces, and where we can go if we remain humble, open, and honest.
Hey, heathens, you're listening to the Deadly Faith Podcast, where religion and crime collide. I'm Lola.
And I'm Laci.
And this shit is disturbing.
The mind that was in Jesus, that mind is in me.
Without me, life has no meaning.
Why would God tell you what I'm thinking and tell you what I've said to my wife or my husband when you're not around? It's because I'm the pastor of the church and I need to know.
This is the only place where you can see truth.
I'm just kidding. I'm actually Laci. I'm not Lola, but I bet we had you going for a second.
You should have used the word twisted.
It's disturbing. It's twisted. It's fucked up. If there is a word for bad, any synonym for bad and disturbing, that's what this case is. I'm so sorry. Do you have your 5-point harness on?
I don't want,
You're going to need it.
Laci's been warning me about this the last 2 days, actually.
I have warned you about this case for 2 months because I have been...
Well, we just haven't talked about it every single day for 2 months.
But I told them in the group chat, her and our editor, I said, I'm researching a case right now that when you listen to it, you're going to be like, no, this is not real life. Because even in the movies, you'd be like, they've gone too far. And I have to remind myself the whole time when I was researching this that nah, this was real life.
Oh God.
I
thought it couldn't get worse than Shasta.
It's worse in a different way because there's different types of worse. Yeah. There's not gory murder in this one. So
I don't understand anything, but great.
Unfortunately, it is going to be a two-parter because this is a very big story.
Laci's the worst. The worst.
I am. And after this one, I am going to be coming at you. My next case is also a two-parter, kind of, but not. It is one case that kind of leads into another case, but they're two totally separate cases. So I'm not going to leave you. I know it's insane and it's super cool and I can't wait to talk about it. So they're two completely separate cases and they're not connected whatsoever.
Interesting.
But they are related in some fashion. You'll understand when you get to it. So I won't leave you hanging on a cliffhanger then, but today I will be leaving you on a cliffhanger. You'll pretty much put the pieces together, but we'll go into more detail in the next episode.
Great.
But
I love it.
Do you want me to go ahead and...
I'm so angry. I'm fine. Hey heathens, Fahlo Bracelets has an offer just for our listeners. Fahlo Bracelets are gorgeous, colorful animal bracelets that come with access to track your very own wildlife. You can pick from all kinds of animals like turtles, sloths, sharks, lions, and more. Your bracelet comes with a QR code to easily track their movements online. The best part is that every purchase directly benefits organizations that save wildlife. I have a gorilla and a sloth bracelet. They are so beautiful, and I love the little animal information cards that come with your bracelet. Go to myfahlo.com, that's myfahlo.com, and use the code LaciBean20 to get 20% off your purchase today. Now back to the show.
Do you want me to go ahead and list off the trigger warnings for you?
Please do.
All right. We've got sexual abuse and a lot of sexual abuse. Some of it's very violent. So we've got some physical abuse going on as well, of different types. We've got kidnapping, we've got torture, and we have incest. So it is a very, very heavy.
Just all the casual things that happen.
Yeah.
Totally joking.
It's very heavy sexual abuse. So if that is too much for you to listen to, please just skip this week and next week's episode. And then we'll see you in the next one because it's very heavy.
Go listen to a previous episode.
Yeah. Listen to one about a gory death instead of horrible rape. I don't know.
That's better. Yeah.
It's a true crime podcast. You're not going to get away from it, honestly.
Yeah. I act like I hate it every time you're like, this is about to be bad. But it's not that I like it. It's not that I love it. You pique my interest.
I do. Yeah.
I get very curious.
These are the these are the kind of cases that make me go, what the fuck? And I get so focused on them because I am so intrigued in the psychological of people like this. Like what went wrong with you? Like,
who hurt you? Where are they?
Who hurt you? Who hurt you?
Who raised you and who hurt you are the first two things that you ask someone before you start dating them. That's your advice
in this
of the
one,
day.
In this case, we can point to his mama. She was pretty fucked up, but we'll learn about her. But all of this I got from the book Secrets in the Cellar. It's by John Glatt, and it is available on Audible if you want to go listen to
You're
it.
a book person.
Way more. I am a book person, but there's way more detail in the book. So I'm going to be just literally skimming the surface, even with 2 parts. So just it really hits home, like just brings it into reality.
Yeah.
The book does. So
okay,
if you want to give it a listen, we'll link it below. But
do you say it Joseph Fritzl?
Fritzl, yes. Joseph
Okay.
Fritzl. The Ditzel.
I'm sorry, is this the victim or the perpetrator?
This is the perpetrator. Okay?
Oh.
This is the perpetrator.
Fritzl
This is the
Dixel.
fucked up man. Yeah. And he's still alive.
Get out of here.
While we go through this, just remember he is still very much kicking,
How?
which I am like kind of shocked because he's old as fuck.
Oh.
All right. Anyways, let's jump right in. Here we go.
Mhm.
So in August of 2008, Austrian authorities, we're going all the way to Austria, okay?
Hey.
Austrian authorities received a distress call from an elderly man reporting that he'd found an unconscious woman leaning against his, wall of his apartment building, and she was in need of emergent medical assistance. So they responded swiftly and discovered the woman leaning against the wall, appearing naturally pale, and she was bleeding from her mouth, along with patches of her hair had been missing, and it was suggesting that they had been like forcibly removed from her head. So
Not on the Bobby.
not on the Bobby. Now they rushed her to the hospital. Doctors worked urgently to diagnose her condition, but ultimately she was placed in the ICU and on a ventilator due to multiple organ failures.
What the fuck?
With no identification. No identification. Her identity remained unknown until 3 hours after she arrived. And an elderly man named Joseph Fritzl showed up, and he identified himself as her grandfather. Okay, what the fuck? Okay, tell me more about her. What's going
Random.
on? Why is she dying, right? So Fritzl claims that he found the woman unconscious outside of his apartment, and she was holding a note, and he retrieved the note before the authorities arrived. So apparently this young girl's mother was his daughter, Joseph Fritzl's daughter. And the story goes that his daughter had run away at the age of 18 and joined some kind of religious cult. Over the years, his daughter had had a few children, and after she had so many, the cult started to really disapprove of the amount of children she was having. And so when she would have a kid, she would then ship the child back to her parents and request that they raise the child.
my jaw is already on the floor, and we're just a few minutes in.
I know. So apparently this young girl was the newest child that his daughter had dropped on his doorstep. Joseph said that he was the only one that he was the one that had found the girl. And before the authorities came, he'd retrieved this note. And this is explaining everything in the whole situation. And the note read, please help her. Wednesday, I gave her aspirin and cough medicine for the condition. Thursday, the cough worsened. Friday, the coughing got even worse. She has been biting her lip as well as her tongue. Kristen is very scared of strangers as she has never been in a hospital before. I have asked my father to help because he is the only other person she knows. Kristen, please stay strong until we see each other again. We will come back to each other soon. Now, I will be calling her Kristen throughout the entire episode. And I think they call her Kirsten or Kirsten. I don't know if it's spelled differently or if it is, because it's an Audible book, okay? So bear with me. But I don't know if it's just dialect, because also the daughter's name that ran away, her name is Elizabeth, but they called her Elizabeth. And so I think it's maybe dialect. Or, just culturally, they just pronounce it different. But I'm going to be saying Elizabeth because I'm a white-ass American. Great.
Love that for you.
So bear with me. Hopefully it is actually her real name and I'm not just like completely being disrespectful.
I think it's fine.
Anyways. Okay. So this is the note, right? So Joseph tells the doctors that this kind of behavior from his daughter, his runaway daughter, was very typical. She'd done this before. He'd taken care of multiple of her children. So this was normal. Now, like I said, his daughter's name was Elizabeth, and so far she had abandoned 3 of her kids prior to Kirsten.
I'm sorry, how old are the kids when she's like shipping them away?
Babies.
Oh my God. So like
Babies.
They're raised by their grandparents. Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
They don't know anything but their grandparents. Yeah. So she had abandoned Monica, who was now at this time 15 years old. And then Alex, who was now 12. Okay. So now we have Kristen, and she is 18. I think she's around 18 at this time. So after Joseph conversed with the doctors for a brief period, he insisted that they do whatever it takes to improve Kristen's condition. Now they're perplexed by the bizarre circumstances. Like, it's not every day you hear this kind of story. So the doctor began questioning Joseph, but Joseph quickly became flustered and he abruptly was like, I gotta go. And just left.
Bye.
Suspicious. All right,
Bye,
cool.
bitch.
So following this encounter, the medical team intensified their examination of Kristen. Sorry.
Pick one.
And they noticed it. I know. I keep going back and forth
Just
in the
say
last
Kristen.
2 minutes.
Let's do Kristen.
Kristen. I know. I keep saying Kristen. And then, okay, anyways, keep going. So they started a deeper examination of Kristen and they noticed alarming indicators such as severe dental issues. Like, she's missing most of her teeth.
Oh no.
She also had those really large bald patches. Her skin was so pale that it was like unnaturally pale. Like, I mean, fucking white as white can be.
Wow.
Before, having the albino condition. Like, she was just pale. And she had very pronounced anemia. Now, initially they considered that maybe she had been poisoned, but tests yielded negative results. So they're now at a loss for what the hell's wrong with this person. So despite further examinations and more tests, the cause of Kristen's deteriorating health remained elusive. With her organs failing, Kristen was placed on life support. The doctor, it was Dr. Wright, he expressed utter bewilderment and never encountered anything like this before in all the years that he had been a doctor. And he knew that all these symptoms had to be coming from the same cause. Like, there's just too much going on. So I can't just treat the symptoms. I need to know what's causing this in order to come up with some kind of treatment plan. And so he was pretty determined to try to unravel this mystery. And so given the unusual circumstances surrounding the case and Joseph Fritzl's narrative, the doctor eventually contacted the police to initiate an investigation. This all kind of happened within the same day. It was very quickly.
Good.
So shortly after Joseph's visit to the hospital, the police arrived at his home for questioning. Now, during the interview, Joseph disclosed his history of taking in multiple children from his daughter, Elizabeth, and noting that Elizabeth had fled at the age of 18, a fact that was also known by the authorities. They knew about this, and they also knew that he had taken in, he had legal custody of these kids. Okay, and we'll get more into that in part 2, but he does have legal custody of these children, and they do know that these are Elizabeth's kids. He further mentioned receiving a letter from Elizabeth in January detailing that Kristen's medical issues had worsened, but she also had expressed her intentions of returning home soon.
Okay.
With all of the rest of her children. So she had a few children with her that she did not abandon to her parents.
Okay.
This was Stefan, who was 18 at the time. So I think Stefan was the oldest. So maybe Kristen was 16 around this time. She was a little younger.
How is she picking which ones to give away and which ones to keep?
That's a great question. You will get answers to that, but you will not get answers till part 2. So sorry. So Stefan is 18 and Felix is 5. And so she's talking about I'm going to come home. We're going to be a family again. I'm going to bring all my kids. And she had mentioned Kristen's medical condition and she was doing pretty bad. So this was back in January. Okay. So now it's in, what was it? I think April. Was it in April that they got the call? Hold on. I'm going to go back in my notes. August. So That's a long time.
Yeah.
She's been sick for a while. Okay, so Joseph, he was actually a very prominent figure in the Austrian community around where he lived. He was known for his extensive property holdings. He had a bunch of different properties he owned, and he had like apartments and a vacation lake house and stuff. And he was also known because he was a very devout Catholic.
Where there's real estate, there's
devout
power.
As devout could be.
Where there's religion, there's even more power. Amen, sister.
Well, amen, hallelujah. So he was regarded as the epitome of a traditional family man, okay? Epitome.
How? Okay.
Now, convinced by Joseph's account, the police decided to reopen the missing persons investigation concerning Elizabeth. Now, over the years, they had reopened this missing persons investigation or like looked into it multiple times over the last handful of years, like decades, because every time that Elizabeth would abandon a child and Joseph would, alert the authorities, they would re-look into her disappearance because, she's abandoning children and there's what the fuck's going on. But every time they were not able to find her, okay?
Wait, but did it matter? She was 18 when she ran away. Is that right?
She was 18 when she ran away. But I think with Austrian law, it's 19 at this time. Like, so she ran away and it was like in the 80s. Like it was,
all right,
way before this. So I think Austrian law is like you're a legal adult at 19. So like she wasn't technically a legal adult. It's either that or I'll get more into it in part 2. I will, I promise. But I don't know if she was technically a legal adult at this time, at the time of her running away. So, now, their first investigation step involved tracing the postmark location of the January letter that Elizabeth had sent. Now, they interviewed multiple people around town because it was postmarked from a completely different town. And they had sent out multiple inquiries to various churches and different groups that they thought were kind of cultish, but they yielded no leads. Elizabeth seemed to be a ghost to anyone that they had questioned. They're like, we don't have any idea. She doesn't even look familiar. So, and any kind of picture they have of her, it's all digitized from her age of 18 because they hadn't seen her since she was 18.
Okay.
So, in a further attempt to unravel Elizabeth's whereabouts, a cult expert analyzed the letters that she had sent over the years. The expert noted peculiar differences within the letters and in the writing style. He said the style resembled calligraphy, but he found that the structure of the sentences were very unusual, and it suggested that they had been dictated rather than composed freely.
Just naturally.
So it was somebody was telling her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it seemed as if somebody was telling her, write this.
Oh, shit.
This is what you need to say. Mm-hmm.
Was it Joseph? Was it Joe? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Ultimately, the expert concluded that the letters lacked authenticity and provided no clues to Elizabeth's location, leaving the investigation again at a standstill. Now, Kristen's condition is deteriorating at a very fast point, and she ended up having to get dialysis and the involvement of a priest who initiated her last rites. The doctors were like,
oh my God, she's on the way out.
I don't think she's going to make it. She is
1 foot in the grave.
She is. She's not just knocking on death's door. She's like what is those things that the police used to a battering ram?
Oh.
She's batter ramming. Is it batter ramming? What is that? I know it's a batter.
Don't say batter ramming. Don't say ramming at all. Because I've never hated anything more than that, personally.
God. Okay. Yeah, I think I prefer the word moist more than batter.
Okay.
Anyways. Okay. So she is, 1 foot through death's door. So they have the last rites coming in. The doctor remained resolute, though, in his belief that Elizabeth, Kristen's mother, held the key to her recovery. She's got the answers. We need to find Elizabeth. So despite the doctor's pleas and Joseph's response being evasive and very confusing, the doctor was like, I'm desperate. And so he took a very bold step and he approached the hospital's public relations department, advocating for a media campaign to appeal directly to Elizabeth.
This is going the extra mile, the extra 10 miles. Okay.
This doctor, I want to hug him.
Okay. I'll let you.
Because when I tell you, he went a million times over with this.
He knew something was happening.
We'll get more into it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get more into it in part 2 because I'm like, oh my God.
Great.
So they end up broadcasting this plea, and they highlighted that Kristen's condition was critical and this was an urgent situation and that they needed Elizabeth to come forward. And that they said, like, we believe that you hold the key to her recovery. And if not, like, she's dying, like she is going to die. The doctor even provided his own personal cell phone number as the direct contact.
Wow.
Like, he was like, get this out there and like, just maybe she'll just call, something. Okay. Now, following the media broadcast, journalists just swarmed Joseph's house, and they were wanting to interview him because they wanted to help get this out. They wanted to help find Elizabeth. Like, your granddaughter's dying. Like, let us help. But instead, they were met with hostility and aggression.
Joe.
Yes. Yeah.
Free help?
He was running them off his property. He was like, get off my property. Like,
Get off my lawn.
Aggressive. And I just can't imagine the shock that these media, people are having in this moment of like,
don't you want
your daughter ran away at 18. Your granddaughter's dying. We need to find your daughter. And you're telling us to get the fuck off your lawn? Like, what the fuck, Grandpa?
This is not the vibe. This is motherless behavior. That's what this is.
Yeah. Motherless to the nth degree. Yeah. He was so fucking combative. Well, this just confused everybody even more. Like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
This is just smelling of stank. So amidst the growing confusion and sense of urgency, the situation took a bizarre turn. By Wednesday, April 23rd, with still no sign of Elizabeth emerging, authorities decided, all right, let's take DNA samples from the entire Fritzl family, including the children that Elizabeth had previously abandoned.
Oh my God.
Their strategy was to potentially trace Elizabeth through any kind of criminal backgrounds from the fathers of these children. Because if she's in a cult and she's trying to hide, then who hides in cults, but, convicted felons. And so they're like, maybe we can trace it that way, right?
Wow. Okay.
So they got DNA from the entire family. Who did they not get DNA from?
Joseph
Fritzl. Mm-hmm.
Mr. Shit
He was like,
Fritz.
oh, I'm sorry. Yep. I know I'm the patriarch of the family and everything, but I'm so busy right now. And I just can't give you my DNA. He was elusive. Just always constantly coming up with an excuse of I don't know.
I'm in a meeting.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah. The investigation still pressed on. But then after just 1 week, so mind you, we're only 1 week into this from Kristen being found in the hospital. The hospital and the police were going hardcore. Yeah, they were hardcore trying to find, because she doesn't have time. There is absolutely no time that Kristen has. She needs her mom to come forward right now, or she's going to die. So after 1 week, Joseph contacted the doctor with astonishing news. Elizabeth had miraculously returned home. Boom, here she is. Hello. He expressed that Elizabeth's desire was to visit the hospital to see her daughter and discuss her condition. But he emphasized to the doctor that they needed to keep this between them and not get the authorities involved because they wanted to avoid any kind of trouble. Okay. The Dr. Wright was like, heard, done. We'll see you in 30 minutes. Doctor's like, cool, I will keep it hush. I'll keep it on the down low. I'm picking up what you're putting down, right? After 30 minutes, Joseph and Elizabeth arrive at the hospital where Elizabeth engaged in conversation with the doctor. And they were only talking for 10 minutes. And after just this brief little exchange, Elizabeth abruptly announced that she needed to leave and go meet her father outside. So she's like,
I smell something up under the house. Something's happening.
Mm-hmm. Now, unbeknownst to them, Dr. Wright had not kept this between them.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. Thank you.
He got off the phone with Joseph and picked up the phone. Hello, officers. They're supposed to be here. So all the officers were on standby, just waiting for them. And they let them arrive at the hospital and go inside because they were the doctor, get all the information you can to try to help Kristen, and we'll get them on the way out. So as they were trying to leave the parking lot, they were stopped by the police and taken in for questioning.
Mm-hmm.
So they get Elizabeth in. And initially, she reiterates the same narrative that Joseph has been saying this whole time. She ran away at 18. She got involved in a religious cult. And over the years, she abandoned all of her children or most of her children on her father's doorstep and begged him and her mom to raise them. However, the police were like, you sure about that?
Where is the mom?
Elizabeth's mom?
Yeah.
She will come back up in this. We'll talk about her in a little bit, but you won't really hear much about like where she's at in this until we get to part 2.
I just keep jumping forward to part 2 shit. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I'm going to kind of like in just a minute, I'm going to finish this part and then we're going to go way back and we're going to talk about like Joseph and Elizabeth.
That's what I need.
Mm-hmm. We're going to get some nitty gritty.
Perfect.
All right. So they weren't buying this. Okay. And they were like, we're going to keep pressing. So they just kept questioning her and kept pressing. And she broke. She was like, I can't do this anymore. And she was like, okay, I'm going to tell you the whole story. I will tell you everything. I will tell you every nitty gritty, itty little bitty detail. But I need you to do 2 things for me. 1, I need you to ensure the safety and protection for myself, my children, and my mother.
Oh.
2nd, I need you to reassure me that I will never have to encounter my father, Joseph Fritzl, ever again, regardless of whatever the circumstances is. I don't want to see him again in my entire life.
Joseph, you bitch. What'd you do to your women?
Yeah. Okay. Now, before we get into that,
okay,
we're going to go back in time and we're going to talk about Joseph Fritzl. And we're going to learn a little bit more about Elizabeth, okay?
Okay.
So Joseph Fritzl, he was born on April 9th, 1935. This motherfucker's still alive. Like, I just want you to like let that sink into your brain. He was born in 1935. Elizabeth didn't come, drop Kristen off and everything until 2008. Okay.
Wow.
So even in 2008, he was old. So now he's like really fucking old. And I could not find an obituary. This motherfucker's still kicking.
Oh my God.
He's still kicking. How? I don't fucking know. Not even on a prayer. I don't even think he's floating on a prayer right now. I don't know how he's doing it. Anyways, so he's born April 9th, 1935 in Lower Austria.
Worst day of the world.
Yeah. Now, he was raised in a household dominated by his devout Roman Catholic mother who wielded immense control over the family dynamics. Now, his mother's authority was so pervasive that it extended to every aspect of their lives. This left his father little to no room for like really any kind of influence. Like, she wore not only the pants, but like every pair of pants.
Every hat, every
that
pant,
there ever was.
Everything.
And she was fully dressed.
She's like, fully dressed woman. Don't get it twisted.
What's that episode of Friends where like Joey comes out and he's wearing all of Chandler's clothes?
And then he starts running and sweating in them. It's great. Yeah.
God, it's so bad. And I think, wasn't he like, I'm not wearing underwear?
Yeah.
I'm wearing all your clothes. Oh, gosh. Okay. I'm glad that you know Friends. That makes me feel better. It makes me feel like not super old. God, so classic. Pivot. Anyways, yeah. So that is his mom. Pivot!
It's turned into a paste. Okay, sorry.
It has. Okay, so she wears all the pants, right? Now, at the age of 3, Austria fell under Hitler's occupation, an event that was actually like met with enthusiasm by many Austrians.
Ugh.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah, they regret it
and this
now.
included Joseph's family. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were all cool with Hitler coming in. And soon after this, Joseph's mother kicked out his father because of infidelity. And then they got a divorce. So Joseph's father was not like a huge part of his life. We do find out later on that Joseph's father did die in combat as a Nazi stormtrooper during the war.
What the fuck?
I know. I'm telling you. This is just not even a bad apple. It's just like a bad fucking tree. It's a bad tree. It's all rotten to the core. So throughout his upbringing, Joseph harbored profound hatred for his father, whom he regarded as a failure, while he held his mother in the highest esteem. She was perfect. Nobody could meet the perfection of his mother.
Okay?
That's he loved her. He was devoted to her. Oh, when I tell you, it gets worse. Okay?
I have a feeling I know. I don't want this to happen.
He considered her as the epitome of maternal perfection.
I have to leave the room.
His admiration for his mother bordered on idolization.
Yeah.
And this shaped his perception of family dynamics. that influenced many of his future behaviors, okay? Now, I will say, he denies any sexual acts, or sexual abuse happening between him and his mother, okay?
I know it happened.
He denies this. But what he doesn't deny later on when things come out, he doesn't deny that he had a very large desire to sleep with his mama.
Oh, yeah, I gotta walk that one off. I gotta leave. I gotta walk it off.
Like, and I'm out. Now, if everybody's butt just puckered and their whole body squirmed.
You haven't said that in so long, and you know how grateful I've been for that, and now you say it again.
Hey, I have had friends tell me that, like, no, my butt puckers too. So, like, I know I'm not alone out there. We might be that a minority of our butt puckering.
We know it happens. We know that. It's just like taxes. We know it happens. We just don't talk about it, okay? God.
Well, you know, I tell my whole business on the internet, apparently, but I feel like there's no adequate way to express the ick without just, you know, I feel like that encompasses it so well.
Yeah.
My butt puckered. It's just, you understand without having to say any more. So bad. Okay. So I will say that now. Like, he denies it, but like, okay, let's just say that they didn't have any kind of sexual abuse happening. He admits to wanting to bang his mom. Okay. And that,
it's too much either way. It's too much.
It's too much. It's too much. Mm-hmm. Now, Maria, this is his mother's name, is Maria.
Of course.
Now, she valued, as he was growing up, she very much valued discipline. And not just like, go to your room or you're grounded. Like, she was hardcore, brutal with her discipline, and her punishment and her beatings were very violent. And Joseph endured that his whole entire childhood. Now, as he gets older, she also encourages him to join the Hitler Youth because
the Hitler Youth. I'm sorry.
Are there
commercials for it?
I'm sure there was. But yeah, she's like, I want you need to go and join the Hitler Youth because it's going to, quote, make a man of you.
Okay.
All right. It made you into something. You and Hitler really did make something out of Joseph, okay?
I'm nervous.
Yeah. He says that, like, she didn't have a lot of affection towards him, and instead she was subjecting him to insults and derogatory marks, even dubbing him as Satan throughout his entire childhood. Yeah. Straight up calls him Satan. And he reflected on his upbringing and said that, like, the only positive aspect of his mother's influence was her insistence on attending church. Yeah, this is a church-going woman.
Great.
She's like, praise God, beat your children. Praise God, go join Hitler's
Youth. God,
like,
fuck you.
Okay.
Yeah. Praise God, it's just a black guy. Yeah.
Now, this is what's so fucking weird to me is, like, he says this. These are like words straight from his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
That his mom was not affectionate. She called him Satan. And that the only positive thing about her influence was that she took him to church. But he also, on the other hand, is like,
she's perfect.
She is the epitome of motherhood and she's perfection. And what?
He sounds like he's got a degradation kink.
Yep.
Yeah. The way your face just fucking dropped.
It's not even, it's a degradation kink right now, but then it kind of flips.
I hate this.
As he gets older, which we will talk about in just a minute. So hold on. Now, his childhood was marked by poverty as well. So much so that they ended up relying on the neighbors for food many times, like him and his siblings. Yeah. Despite economic hardships, though, many viewed his upbringing as relatively stable. With Joseph being described as well-behaved and even popular among his peers. However, amidst the shit show of his home environment and Hitler's influence among his country, Joseph found solace in books. Okay?
Who doesn't?
He would consume any and all books that he could get his hands on. And during his time of consuming all of these books, he realized, oh my God, I'm highly intelligent.
What?
And unfortunately, he really was. He was very smart. And he realized how smart he was just like by reading these books. He was like consuming the information and retaining it really well. And he was like, oh my God, I'm smart. And his teachers were like, oh my God, you are. And he's like, cool, I can do this. I can use this And he did. He uses it in the future. Okay. Now, also growing up surrounded by the influence of Hitler and the Nazis, Joseph was fascinated with the Nazi death camps.
Ugh.
Absolutely fascinated by them. This doesn't have like a whole lot to do with the story. Maybe it does. It fucking does.
You know,
but
it's probably an important detail.
It's weird. It is an important detail. Yeah. He was
That's not something a normal person is fascinated by, even if you're not anti-Nazi stuff. You're just...
He lived just down the street from the Nazi death camps. And like he would just like regularly play soccer in the middle of these rubble-torn streets outside these death camps.
It's giving boy in striped pajamas.
It is. Absolutely. It's I as somebody who I know a lot about the Holocaust, because that, like I said, these are the things that intrigue me, because I'm like, how does somebody become that vile?
How do we get there? And how do we not get there again?
And then how does how do people just be like, cool, like, let's just like not stand up for all of these people? Like I dug into that. And I'm going to go on a small little rabbit trail, but like growing up, they'd always be like, are you willing to die for Jesus? You know, kind of shit. They'd be like, if somebody held a gun to your head, would you not deny Jesus? And my husband and I had this conversation like literally a month ago, and my husband looked at me dead in the face and goes, I would have denied every time. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you. You're the first person that's actually admitted that to me. But I've always my whole life been like, I will deny Jesus to the end of time if somebody holds a gun to my head. Like, are you kidding me? I'm not going to, like, this imaginary person that like I don't even know is real. Yes, I was a Christian at the time, but I still was like, I would deny it. But do you know?
The better question is, would you die for a friend? You know? Would you die?
Okay. After deconstructing and becoming like an activist over the last couple of years and standing up for the, Black Lives Matter, and then like just people of color in general, and women's rights, and then Palestine, standing up for all of this stuff vocally on social media made me realize like, okay, I'd be willing to die for some of this. Like I would go to bat for these people because they're like human beings that I can really touch and feel. And so
you can make a connection. And like you've got friends that are Black, you've got friends that are gay, you've got friends that are living over there, where they're being persecuted. And it's like,
yeah,
you can really feel more connected.
And with social media, like I'm not familiar with Palestine or Palestinian people. Like I don't know them personally, but social media has definitely given me a front row seat to the genocide. And it's like, I can't not speak up. And that's me. I'm speaking for myself personally right now, but it's just made me realize that I am willing to stand up for other people, just not an imaginary person.
I'm not willing to die for Jesus, but I'm willing to die for my comrade, out here.
Yes. And I don't feel bad saying that. No, I have no shame about that anymore.
Shame in that. No.
Absolutely. Anyways, okay, so back to Hitler. So he's fascinated with Hitler. Hitler's the man. Jesus Christ. So yeah, he grows up down the street from these death camps, and he's just fascinated.
Terrifying.
Now, we're going to fast forward throughout his life. We're going to get to his early 20s. During this time, he was kind of getting some freedom, and he was indulging in a lifestyle of like buying expensive things, going to bars, and like just becoming very popular with the women.
Okay.
But he couldn't go on dates because his fear of his mother's disapproval prevented him from pursuing any romantic or sexual relationship.
Like disapproval of dating or disapproval of the girl or person?
Probably I think it's the person. Like he was like, my mom's going to disapprove of anybody and everybody. And so like he never got into a relationship because he literally just put his mother's approval over anything and everything.
Okay, yeah.
So what does this do? It stifles his ability to develop any kind of healthy sexuality at all. So he becomes frustrated, with this inability to connect sexually with women. So what does he do? He's just like, you know what? I'm going to just start exposing myself to women without their consent. I'm not
He's
kidding.
a flasher. He becomes a flasher.
He becomes a flasher. He's like, it's a flyby flashing. He would get immense gratification in the thrill and control he got over exposing himself to women anywhere and everywhere. And he loved the look of shock on their face. Loved it. It gave him so much control and he relished in it.
I don't like this.
Okay. Yeah.
This is not a good hobby to like.
No. Pick a better hobby, please. Please. Now, in 1956, Joseph met 17-year-old Rosemarie, who was said to be very naive, a very naive young girl, and she was nowhere near his intellectual level. That's not to say she was stupid. She's not stupid. He is very brilliant. Joseph is very
innocent.
smart.
She's
also 17. I was fucking naive as shit at 17. So like,
I didn't know what a penis looks like till I was 17.
Oh my God, you poor thing.
I'm not joking.
I can't. You didn't know what it looked like?
No, I didn't know what a penis looked like till I was 17. I didn't have sex till I was 18.
No. Okay, well, we're not getting into when I had sex because it is not that old. Yeah, no, I was young. I lost my virginity at 14, okay?
Good Lord, Laci.
I know.
Well, virginity is
okay,
a
but I
made-up
don't
thing.
remember it. I know. Like, yeah, it's a made-up concept, but I don't remember it. I remember it, but I don't remember what it felt like. Because, okay.
I'm concerned. No, you can't just say this. We have to explain.
I will explain it. Okay. It's funny because my sister was like, will you please just wait till you're 15? And I was like, I'm waiting till I'm married. Shut the fuck up.
Oh my God.
And then I had sex that year.
Oh my God.
I know. So the boyfriend I was with, we did everything but have sex, right? And then it kind of like one thing led to another. And then it was like, we're 14. We don't know what the fuck we're doing, you know? And so I just remember like it went in. I don't remember what it felt like. And then I was like, I'm pregnant and I'm going to have twins and my whole life's over. I am not kidding. It went that fast. My mind, I was like, I need the morning after pill, but I couldn't tell anybody. And so like,
wow.
I had sex, but I also didn't have sex.
I gotcha.
I wasn't pregnant. He didn't come in me or anything. I just was like, that Southern sex ed classes, they worked on my ass. I was terrified.
The purity culture, it got to you.
I was convinced that I was going to get pregnant. And then I had 17 STDs. Are there 17 STDs? Probably not, but my ass would have had 17.
There are like 30. So yeah, they exist, but.
Oh, okay, cool. Sure. I was convinced I was going to have all of them.
Yeah.
I was terrified.
That's rational.
I was terrified. But also I was a very sexual young person. Why? Because I was abused as a child and that turns you into a sexual young being because psychology. Anyways.
She just gave us a mouthful.
We took a hard right time with that one. Okay. So Joseph's out here flashing people.
Oh,
okay.
God.
He's
Back
just
to
like,
this. Yeah.
Look at me, Willie. Mm-hmm. And now he's found Rosemarie and they are starting a relationship. Joseph sees her as like the perfect wife. Okay. Why? Because he can manipulate her. Okay. He can overpower her intellectually. He can convince her to do what he wants to do. So he's like, I am going to put a ring on this one because this one's the perfect one for me. So unfortunately for Rosemarie, she was actually very charmed by Joseph's status within the community. And like he was, had some expensive stuff. And so she got swept up into this relationship.
He knew how to
quickly.
manipulate. It's not her fault. Yeah.
He did. No, he was very manipulative.
I would have fallen for it too, honey.
When I tell you this man, we ain't even like a centimeter into how manipulative he is. It gets worse. It gets so bad. Okay. Now, from the beginning of their relationship, Joseph demanded that they have a big family. So after they got married, they immediately started having children. And over 13 years, Rosemarie gave birth to 7 children in total.
No.
7.
Poor vagina. Poor uterus.
Right?
About to fall out. God.
It is. I'm sure it's fallen out. It's just, but when it came to raising the children, though, Joseph believed in extreme gender roles. And the only help that he would give in raising his kids was through violently disciplining them.
Wow.
Like mother, like son.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 2 peas in a pod. Now, you would think that since he's married now and he has a family, he would stop his deviant sexual behavior, right?
No.
Wrong. No, absolutely not. He did not stop. Throughout their entire marriage, Joseph was still randomly exposing himself to women in public. So much so that the year that they got married, he was arrested for doing it. The year they got married.
The flasher.
That flasher.
The hash slinging. The pash hanging. The dick slinging.
Flasher. Flasher.
That's not funny,
God.
but like, yeah.
I know. We have to have some brevity because this case is so bad. Hey, guys. Now, we find out later on that he would actually prowl around town at night, also spying on women through their windows. So he goes from a flasher to a full-blown peeping Tom. He's okay. He's accelerating very quickly. Now, let's fast forward just a little bit.
Okay.
Just a handful of years to April 16th, 1966. This was the day that Elizabeth, one of Joseph's daughters, was born. Joseph says that from the moment she was born, he was drawn to her. He said that her bright red hair, her piercing eyes, and her angelic smile reminded him of his mother.
No, I knew it. No. Hold the phone, shut the door, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
That's your fucking daughter.
I know, and it gets I'm sorry. On that same year, 1966, on September 4th, Joseph Fritzl attempted to drag a woman into the woods to rape her. Fortunately, this woman fought back and she was able to get away before anything happened. But just a few days later, he tried this again with another woman and he was successful.
No.
This woman was very embarrassed and full of shame, and so she stayed silent for years about this. And she said it was a very violent rape.
Oh, baby girl. I'm so sorry.
I know. Now, she doesn't come out and like talk about this and like identify him as also raping her during this time until like 2008.
Wow.
Okay. So like it's a long time. The very next month on October 6th, 1967, Joseph's 32 years old at this point, and he crawled through a woman's window.
What?
A woman's window. Also, I said 1966 in the same year. This was 1967. So this is like 1 year later after Elizabeth had been born.
What's he doing crawling in a window?
He held a knife to this woman's throat. She was home alone. Her husband worked the night shift and he violently raped her. Now, he thinks he's going to get away with this because he's already violently raped a woman in the woods a month prior and he hadn't been caught. So he thinks he's going to get away with this. But after Joseph left her home, she called the authorities and reported the rape. Due to a palm print at the scene and her being able to identify Joseph in a lineup, the investigators were able to tie him to the crime and he was quickly arrested.
Yeah.
Also, the woman that he had tried but was unsuccessful to rape and tried to drag her into the woods, she also identified him in a lineup as well. So he was charged with all of these crimes and he got a whopping 18 months in prison.
That's not...
Yeah.
Are they smart? No. I'll answer the question for you.
No. It gets worse because he only spends 18 months in prison and he gets out in 1969. So I don't even think he spent I think he spent close to the full 18 months in prison. But Rosemarie stood by him this whole time. She didn't leave.
Oh, girl. You're under that spell. That's for sure.
Unfortunately. Now, after he gets out of prison in 1969, he was actually an engineer. So it didn't take long for him to get a job, even despite his criminal background. Not only that, everyone just like looked past his criminal record so that they could employ him.
Of course.
Employ him because he was just so smart. So we're like, you raped a woman and put a knife to her neck?
No, Biggie. You have brain cells. You know how to read, mister.
You have many brain cells. So we're just going to let you, come work for us. Not only that, he would constantly be promoted. He was constantly rising the ranks.
You know what you look like whenever you do that? Whenever you allow people to move up in a company, when you hire people that like are not reformed and have done horrible things, you're like a marble brain wet paint roller, You're
Noodle.
Just gross.
Dingle hopper. You're the dingle hopper.
That's a fork.
That hangs off a dingleberry. I'm thinking of the dingleberry. Do you know what a dingleberry is?
I don't.
I was told that it's the crusty like pieces of poop that hang off men's hair off their ass after they take a shit.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, you're a dingleberry. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's what somebody told me. I could be completely wrong. That's not what that is.
I want that to be true. So I'm just going to accept that as my reality. Yeah. That dingleberry means what you told me. So nobody Google it or Urban Dictionary that shit. We're just
agreed. We are going to add it to the Urban Dictionary. That is ours.
Okay.
So he's going up in these companies. You know, he's doing great. Now, as Joseph is building his life outside of prison and basically just like moving on as if he's not a violent sexual criminal, he ends up buying a home. This home that he buys is Ibs Strasse number 40, and it was built in 1980. This home was on a busy main road, but it didn't have any other houses that overlooked it. Now, from what I can understand, and I might be wrong on this, but like, I think I'm making this right connection. His mom's house is like right next door to this house. And he ends up tearing down his mom's old home. And she had a cellar that was part of this home, but he keeps that cellar intact. Now, remember, he keeps his cellar intact, even though it's not part of his like property of Ibs Strasse 40. Okay. He keeps it intact because he has future plans. We'll talk about more of that in part 2, but just remember that. Now, after this, Joseph got a new job as a salesman and he made bank. Due to his influx in cash, he now started dressing fancy and even bought himself a new Mercedes. He was just like living the high life, okay? Now, this new job as a salesman required him to travel, but you know, he didn't mind that. He actually loved that. Why? Because this man wanted to be able to go to brothels outside of town and just start living out all his crazy, wild sexual fantasies. And
flashing, he's dingleberrying, he's doing it all.
Yeah. So he starts going to all these brothels and soon he starts hiring sex workers. Okay. Now soon, most of these sex workers refuse to work with him. Why? Because he was so violent. Violent. It was said that he would torture the girls almost to death.
Oh my God.
And he'd even get them to pretend to be dead so he could pleasure himself while
what is happening?
Pretending to look at a dead body.
Immediately. This is not a kink.
No, this is one of the things that he liked doing the most was having them act out his sadistic rape fantasies.
No. No, thank you.
No. So he has fully gone into sadomasochistic
rogue
sexual fantasies. Yeah, he is just way down that road.
Okay.
And this is, yes, these women consented, and I'm using like major fucking air quotes right now because they're being paid. And in my opinion, that is not true consent because they are in a financial situation where they are needing to do sex work or, you know, like
they're a professional. This is their job. And like, sometimes they don't know exactly what the client wants. You know, if they don't have a thorough consultation at the beginning, which a lot of them, if you work in a brothel, most of the time you don't have consultations. You don't have like a autonomy over your own, like, you're not an independent contractor.
And the ones that do aren't in such financial straits that can set very clear boundaries. You know, they aren't working with him. But he knows that he's going to be able to get away with this shit with the ones that are more desperate financially. And so, in my opinion, that is not true consent.
No, I don't think
that
so
is
either.
Coercion, in my opinion. At me, I don't fucking care.
Yeah, at us. Deadly Face, Gmail.
Come at me, bro. So, as time went on, Joseph became even more unbearable at home. He was constantly beating even Rosemary and the kids. So like he's beating his wife, he's beating the kids. He was, I mean, a just unbearable piece of shit to be around. The kids were so terrified of him that one of his kids would hide in the corner of the living room and he'd even pee himself when he would hear his father's keys in the door. Like at the end of the day when he's like coming home, he would get so terrified. He'd pee himself. So like this man is whatever you can think of, times it by a bajillion. And that is this man ruling his home with an iron fist. Some of his disciplinary methods were to make the children kneel on sharp wood until they bled. or he would make them kneel on rice with their arms out and a book balancing on their head. If the book or they fell, he would whip them.
What
Yeah.
the?
He's awful. He's absolutely awful. Now, you would be asking yourself, did anybody call the authorities? Did anybody report this? No. Over the years, no one, not one damn person ever reported Joseph
Oh my.
to any kind of authorities for abuse. Due to his stance within the community and the fact that he was this church-going man of God, many people just ignored any of the abuse and completely forgot about the fact that he was a previous violent sex criminal.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And what they don't realize is not only is he still a violent sex criminal, but he had continually gotten worse over the years. Continually gotten worse.
Somebody put this man in his place. Put this.
When okay, what was that that country that does that whipping with the sticks? And that's your jail sentence.
There are
Those
lots
crazy
of those.
That's can we sign him up? I would be totally fine with that, with this man.
Fucking sounder kite. Blech. I hate this person.
Now, after their youngest was born, Joseph refused to have sex with Rosemarie anymore. He said that she had gained too much weight, and due to that, he's not attracted to her anymore. And he would constantly call her fat and ugly and berate her in front of even company. Even her own sisters were like, he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
So instead of Joseph just hiring sex workers and getting off, being a sick fuck with just, sex workers, since he's not having sex with his wife, he decided that was just not enough for him. And unfortunately, when poor Elizabeth turned 11,
no,
he started violently raping her. I know. Yeah. Now, out of shame and fear, she kept it a secret, which, I didn't tell anyone about my abuse. And it was nowhere near what she went through. It's not even on the same planet. And I didn't tell anyone until I was 30.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. Now, again, he didn't have sex with his mom, he says. But I can't help but think that of all his children, he picked Elizabeth. So is this him recreating that sexual desire of wanting to boink his mama?
Yes. It's gotta be.
So gross. It's gotta be. There's no other dot that's connecting to this. There's literally nothing. Now, from what Elizabeth says, Rosemarie, her mom, seems to not have noticed anything going on between her and her father. She was completely in the dark on everything. But unfortunately, the abuse continued for years. During this time, Joseph bought and sold different properties and even owned a lake guest house. And this is where he would rent out rooms and things like that. I think it was more of a summer property. So people would come for a week or two, and Rosemarie would normally go on the out there during the summers, and she would work it as the business.
Okay.
Yeah. One time in the summer of 1977, Rosemarie ended up taking all her kids on a beach vacation. The only person that didn't go was Joseph. The only child that didn't go was Elizabeth. Literally, Elizabeth was the only one that had to stay behind. And the only reason that she had to stay behind was because Joseph insisted that she stay. Why? You know why. Because with everyone gone, it gave him the freedom to rape her whenever and wherever he wanted. He raped her in his car, in the woods, and even back at their home. He had complete control over her and did whatever he wanted.
Someone should set his face on fire and try to put it out with a brick. Simply.
I'm sorry, I got a mental image and
Simply.
I hate this man. I hate this man until we don't condone violence, but the Bible says an eye for an eye.
I desire that we be just better strangers from this person.
Right. As Elizabeth got older, Joseph became more and more controlling of her. She wasn't allowed to wear makeup or wear any kind of sexually revealing clothes. If she did, she was then violently beaten. At school, all of her friends knew that she was terrified of her father and her family because she was terrified, visibly terrified to get home late, because she knew if she did, it was just another beating she would have to endure. Now, they assumed that it was because Joseph was just super strict and violent with his discipline, but that also wasn't super out of the ordinary during this time in Austria. fathers were known to be very, dictator type leaders. Like,
it was the culture.
Remember, they welcomed Hitler. Like, this entire country, for the most part, welcomed Hitler. Okay. So having this dictator type leader and disciplinarian in the home is pretty normal. So after a year of raping Elizabeth, Joseph decided that he wanted to create an underground bunker of sorts. He wanted a place where he could retreat to and live out his sadistic sexual fantasies with Elizabeth and whoever else he wanted.
What?
So he did. And guess what? The Austrian government actually ended up paying for a good portion of his underground bunker. They legit paid for it because he lied and he said that it was a nuclear shelter.
Oh my God.
And they had grant money during the Cold War that they had established to give out for people to build nuclear shelters. And so he was like, cool, I will build a nuclear shelter. And they were like, awesome, we will give you money. Okay. This underground bunker took him about 6 years to complete, and he did all of the work himself. While he was developing his underground bunker, he would also build onto his home at Ibstrasse 40 and create apartments that he would rent out. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot going on here. Now, nobody knew it at the time, but when he was building this underground bunker, he had removed 17 truckloads of dirt to build this. 17. Now, the reason that nobody realized how massive this underground bunker was because he would work on it during the summer when Rosemary was over at the lake house doing that business.
Oh, so no one was around to witness it.
So he did. No one was around. And like he said, no house overlooked his. So he got to do all of this shit in private. Even the government themselves was not aware of how big this was. They had only approved something that was about 1/7 of the size of what he actually built. Now, how he was able to get away with this was around the time that the bunker was complete and he needed to have the government come and do their inspection and write off on it. He just cemented off areas, literally just cemented it off and pretended like it wasn't there, had the inspection, they signed off of it, sealed, signed, sealed, delivered, we're good, go. And then he would break down the cemented areas and reopen the other areas of the bunker. Let's talk about some things that were in this bunker. From the entrance of his home to the inside of the bunker were 8 locked doors.
No.
So a long passageway with 8 separately locked doors. One of these doors that he installed weighed a ton. And I'm not being metaphorical. It literally weighed a ton. Wow. It was a ton. A actual ton.
How do you get in or out of that?
He also installed a second entrance to the bunker that was at the end of his garden outside. So he had 2 main entrances that he had installed. He's also installed electricity and plumbing to the bunker. He also brought down a furnace to burn waste. And he even soundproofed the entire thing. Now let's talk about Elizabeth. Sweet, baby, angelic Elizabeth. Now growing up, she loved pop music. And she even sang in the choir, but her father never allowed her to go anywhere. He was very controlling as she was growing up. But when she turned 16, she was actually able to go work in a restaurant and learn hospitality and cooking. Joseph even let her go to a technical school to start learning this trade per se. At times, he would even let her stay in the dorms for a couple months while she was in this technical school. And originally, though, she wanted to do cosmetology. That was her passion.
Yes, girl.
She desperately wanted to do hair. But Joseph said, no, I want you to learn hospitality and I want you to learn how to cook. He has ulterior motives. Just remember that.
Oh,
so he's like, no
doubt.
You're going to learn how to cook. You're going to learn hospitality. And she can't say no to him.
He's the pimple on society's ass. He always has ulterior motives.
Oh, he's the one right on your ass crack. And he's the one that's right inside your nose or inside your ear or on the crease of your nose that you can't get, but it's so fucking painful. Oh, he is all of them all at the same time. It's all of it. Now, during her time in the dorms, she ended up confiding in some of her friends about the abuse that she endured back home. She was upfront and honest. I'm being raped by my father. She was.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Broken. She's old enough now that she can't hold it in. You know?
Yeah.
And that's about 18 was the first time I confided in my abuse. But then I just went right back into my shell and I didn't talk about it. And it was just kind of like, yeah, I was abused as a kid. And that was it.
It spills over and then you just shut the door again.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it gets very uncomfortable and people start acting differently with you. And then like the help that I was promised I didn't get. And so then I was like, okay, back in the bottle. Like it's just, we're sealing that all that shit right back up. So she starts to spill all of this out to her friends. And unfortunately, during this time also, it's 1982. And it had been 15 years since Joseph's rape conviction. Now, since it had been 15 years and Joseph had a clean record, the Austrian government expunged the rape charges from his record. Gone. Poof. Not like it never happened. I wish you guys could see Lola's face right now. Yeah.
You might.
Yeah, they were like, oh my God, you have done so good for 15 years, i.e. not been caught for all the shit you've done. So like, we're just going to like completely pretend.
So is this government actually just made up of oxygen thieves? Waste of space.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Waste of
space. If that's the type of judgment that you have as an adult.
I don't care if you go 50 years without violently raping somebody after the first time you did it. That shit never gets off your record.
No.
You shit fuck. No.
I'd call him a cunt, but he lacks the depth and warmth. So
love that. I
put
love
that on a t-shirt.
Oh, yes. TM. Okay. So Austrian government is being all sorts of fucking stupid, expunges his record. What the fuck? Now, also during this time, right after his record is expunged, Joseph's arrested. But this time he's arrested for arson due to some suspicious fires at his lake property. This property had actually had many suspicious fires over the years with substantial insurance payouts. And it was believed...
You got fires at the lake, bruh? What are you doing?
Right? What are you doing? But it was believed that he was committing some kind of like insurance fraud, right?
For sure.
But unfortunately, after this arrest, it wasn't long before he was released because they didn't have sufficient evidence. But the cafe owner next door was like, oh, hell no. Like, he fucking did it. We all believe he set fire to it because we all know he's been having financial problems. Like, he's all been having financial problems, okay? It will make more sense on why he's having financial problems. More when we get into part 2, okay? But Elizabeth's in school still, and he's, setting fire to this shit. Mind you, he's also building, well, I guess we can talk about it right now. So he's having financial problems because he's building that big ass motherfucking bunker. And yes, the government gave him some money, but like that's not going to go far when you're building something 7 times larger.
If you have a door that weighs a ton, that's like...
where the fuck you picking that up from?
Yeah.
1982, he typed in, ask Jeeves, where can I get a door that weighs a ton? Do you know Ask Jeeves?
What?
Do you know Ask Jeeves? Okay, thank God.
I'm a person that knows things.
It was a search engine. It was a search engine with like this little man. It was like a Monopoly guy.
Yes.
That's what I always kind of like pictured him as. Yeah. Ask Jeeves. Yeah. They tried. Google was like, yeah, nice try. We're going to completely squash you. And they did.
Yeah.
So he gets away with this. Now, one day after work, Elizabeth and one of her waitress coworkers went out to a bar and had a couple drinks. While there, she broke down and told the waitress all about how her father had been raping her, and this had been going on since she was 11. She told this friend that she had to get out of there, and the girls ended up deciding that they would run away together. So they go home.
Girl power.
Oh, I know. Major girl power. They go home, they pack bags, and they made a run for it. Gone. In the blink of an eye, they're gone. They ended up making it to Vienna, where they found a small apartment and tried to stay hidden, which like, you found an apartment at 16? Like, oh my God. Like, I'm so impressed right now. So fucking impressed. So they tried to stay hidden. But when Joseph found out that she'd run away, he was livid. I mean, she's basically his sex toy. So like, I can't have her gone. Are you kidding me? So he reports her.
She's my mother, but I can have her.
Yeah. I just threw up in my mouth
That's
a little
fine.
bit.
I have to leave the state after this anyway.
I do.
Casually.
I have to leave the fucking planet.
I have to walk it off in a different state. I have to walk that far to get away from this. God.
I have to go drown my eyeballs.
If I could open up my brain and pour bleach onto it after this conversation, I would do that. Put it in a blender, whatever.
Oh, yeah. Stir it on up. Okay, so he reports her missing because he's like, I can't have her gone. That's not, no. And she gets reported missing to police and Interpol, and they started a search for her. After 3 weeks on the run, Austrian police found her at a local party where some neighbors had called the police due to a noise disturbance.
God.
When they discovered her, they ended up just returning her right back to Joseph.
Just let the kids be loud. God.
I know. Next time you want to call in about the party next door, just remember there's a girl trying to run away from her abusive father.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. But seriously.
You know what? There's a girl trying to run away from something abusive at least one of those parties.
Oh my, seriously. A to the man. Now, after Joseph gets Elizabeth back, he, after this, starts regularly calling her his black sheep child, who had problems with alcohol and was a rebellious young teen.
Yeah.
He starts painting the picture. This vindictive, manipulative, dingleberry of a man starts painting her in this horrible light. Horrible light. Now, even though Joseph could see that all of this abuse that Elizabeth had been enduring for years, this horrible, sadistic abuse was boiling over. She was at her breaking point. He didn't care. He was like, I'm just going to continue to rape you. And he did, even after she came home.
No.
At this point, Elizabeth is like, okay, I have to just grin and bear it, basically. I just have to submit to him and his sexual deviant desires.
She had to survive.
Until I can permanently leave. She had to survive. And so she just tries to submit and wait till she's finished with this program. At this point, she only has about 18 months left in this hospitality training program. And then after that, she plans, I'm going to move away. I'm going to become a chef, and I am going to never have to see or deal with my father again. Okay. That is her plan. She was going to move in with her sister. Like, she had all the plans. Okay. So at this point, she's just bearing down. Now, during this time is when the government came and investigated or inspected his nuclear shelter and signed off on it. It was July 26th of 1983. He got the approval stamp from the government. Now, as Elizabeth is finishing out her training over the next 18 months or so, she does end up turning 18 on April 16th, 1984. Over time, Joseph was slightly more relaxed with her. She would also do things that he didn't know about. She would sneak out at night and go party and go drinking. And she was using it as a way to try to dissociate from all of the trauma and abuse that she was enduring. Okay.
Can't blame her.
Now, near the end of her time at this technical school, she was living in the dorms for a couple months. And she actually got a boyfriend.
Oh.
Now, her father didn't know about this boyfriend.
Of course not.
She kept it secret. But these two, I've read it's in the book, so just gotta go read the book. But they write letters back and forth, and it's just so cute. They're you can tell they're just madly in love with each other, okay? But they finish the technical school. They take their last exam, and she decides that the very next night she's gonna stay over in his dorm, and she's actually gonna sleep with him. She planned this out. She was so excited.
It's a big deal.
It is a big deal. He didn't know that she had been abused at all. She did not tell him anything, but he did know that her dad was super strict and she couldn't have a boyfriend and all that stuff. But the next morning, her mom and dad show up at the technical school unannounced to take her home.
No.
So she had to go back home. And since the boyfriend was a secret, he had to just stand there and watch from his dormitory window, just watch her leave. He didn't know this at the time, but that was actually the last time he would ever see Elizabeth. The last time. He was able to talk to her. They sent letters back and forth after she got home. And that was super cute. But tragically, one day, Joseph Fritzl intercepted one of these letters.
No, Joseph, You should have been a blowjob. That's what you should have been.
You should have been a blowjob.
God.
Oh. Yeah. He should have just been like a masturbation session in a shower. Like, he shouldn't even have been as good as a blowjob.
You should have been what ran down your mother's legs. That's what you should have been. You fucking twat waffle. God.
Yeah. So bad. So bad. Now, so he intercepts this and he's pissed. He's livid. Oh, he is enraged. And he's jealous because he could not let another man touch what he considered to be his property. Yes, he considers Elizabeth to be his property. So after this, he became even more strict and more abusive towards Elizabeth, and he stopped letting her go out with any of her friends. He was locking her down. Now,
he's going to put her in the fucking bunker, isn't he?
On Tuesday, August 28th of 1984, Joseph went into Elizabeth's room at around 9 a.m. He asked her if she would come down to the cellar and help him move a heavy steel door into place. She agreed.
This is girl in the basement. This is girl in the fucking basement.
She agreed and went down there with him. When Elizabeth gets down to the cellar, something tragic happens. All of a sudden, Joseph grabbed her head with one hand and pulled her head back. Then with the other hand, he put a piece of cloth over her face and started to smother her. Elizabeth tried to fight back, but the cloth was soaked in ether, so it didn't take long before she ended up passing out. After that, Joseph drug his daughter through a hallway and 7 different doorways. Because mind you, that 8th door wasn't in its place yet, that 1-ton door. He puts it in his place though. And when he finally got her into the actual bunker, he handcuffed her and tied her up on the bed, where he then raped her over and over and over again. After he finished, he left her tied up before he left the cellar, locking every single one of the 8 doors, because he puts the 8th door back in its place.
She was never going to get out.
And he locked every single one of those doors that were between her and their home above. And I'm so sorry, but that's where we're ending part 1. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to need palate cleansers because that
I know
slushied my brain.
So you can kind of piece together.
I know what happened.
What has happened and what's going to happen in part 2.
We all know.
But you're going to get so many answers of the why and what happened. And
can I just know before you do this though, is Elizabeth okay today?
I am going to say yes, but I don't know.
Okay.
Her identity is protected.
That's perfect.
Thank the heavens. Her and everybody that's involved in this, minus Joseph and Rosemarie, their identities are protected.
Okay, that's perfect.
And from what I know, they are all still alive. Yeah, I won't leave you on that cliffhanger. Kristen does end up surviving.
Thank God.
So she does make a comeback. So, yeah.
And
I will say this in this episode, because there will not be a lot of pictures, because I don't want to give away too much in this episode. So there's not going to be a whole lot of pictures on the Instagram. I think we'll post a picture of Joseph and maybe like Ibstrasse 40. And if I can find a picture of Rosemarie.
I was going to say, do you even have a picture of her?
But there won't be a whole lot of pictures. In part 2, I will be posting more pictures of like the bunker and things like that, but there will not be pictures of the victims in this case because they do not exist. If they did exist, I still would not post them because they have protected identity and they do not need their identity out. You know, so unfortunately, pictures will be lacking with this episode, but
that's okay.
That's okay. It's all right. We know the story. And yeah, it's a fucked up one. So palate cleansers. It's just like hard right turn right into that.
Well, I have one.
Oh, you have one. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
I'll keep thinking.
What?
I'm like, oh.
Moscow teens saved over 100 from attack on Crocus City Hall.
What?
So 2 Russian schoolboys that were cloakroom attendants in Moscow, they were there when there was a terrorist attack. So this was reported today as we're recording in March.
Holy shit.
They were 15 and 14 years old. They were awarded medals for their bravery, and they were given to them by Russia's Commissioner for Children's Rights in a ceremony. But it was like gunmen had stormed the Crocus and started firing on people that were attending a concert there. And they started setting fire to the theater. But
holy shit.
The kids came running in.
Took him out?
Helped lead the fleeing attendees away from dead-end hallways and locked maintenance doors out, like through... They were trying to like get people out, navigating. But like they were
okay.
creating a maze where like killers can't get to people. People get to safety. After people get to safety, we lock door. That kind of thing.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Oh my gosh.
So yeah, 15 and 14.
That's a lot. 15 and 14. Holy shit.
Crazy.
That's impressive.
Oh, also, there's a forthcoming reward from, there's a popular Russian rapper that said he wanted to send a thank you to the boys for their troubles. And it's 1 million, I don't know how you say it, rubles?
Ruble? I think it's rubles.
Okay.
I think it's rubles.
Which is about $11,000 in American cash.
Oh my. That's
nice.
That's a substantial chunk of change. Right? And I think it goes further
really far. I think Russia is where it goes the furthest with our currency. So like they're gonna be okay.
Like 11,000 here's like a lot more. Like it would more buying power.
More buying power.
That makes sense.
So there's some good news that happened.
Wow. I still can't get over how young they are.
Same. I mean, I wouldn't have thought to be that savvy, but they were like, fuck no, not on our watch. We're the cloakroom boys. Pull up.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. I guess my palate cleanser can be Opie. Let's talk about Opie.
Is Opie really a palate cleanser? Opie is a menace. A fucking menace.
Opie is a fucking menace, but I love her. Okay?
She's good.
Opie is my lion. Well, I have 2 lion lot bunnies, but Opie is my brown, like, she has super strong lion head genetics. And so she's super furry as fuck, man.
Mm-hmm.
She has figured out how to get out of her enclosure. Like a good almost, good 2.5 feet tall walls. Close to 3. She scales those bitches. She's like, watch me, motherfucker. And I have tried multiple things to keep her in. And for the most part, she usually stays in. But once in a while, at least once every few days, she gets bored and decides, you know what? I'm going to go explore.
She says hardcore parkour.
They have tons of toys. They have a dig box full of sand. We even take them out to our garden. We try to keep them enriched as much as possible.
Laci, come on. We know that you spoil all your animals. They don't want for anything with you guys.
They don't.
They just
except for Opie.
Are simply ungrateful, bored little.
Opie wants to explore the outside of the enclosure in the basement. And she did last night. And I woke up to my bag of like stuffing for my like amigurumi, my little like stuffed animals I crochet. Oh, she spread that shit all over the basement. And then I have these like boards that I put up that have like, it's an egg crate. It's what they call them, like the foam egg crate things that are in, like you use them in your beds. I have one that I put on boards to help kind of like soundproof the basement more. This bitch,
she
sat there and scratched. She didn't eat it. That's her scratching. That's literally just
okay. You sent me a picture with no context. I just saw you holding her and then.
Yeah, it was
messed up boards.
It was pretty evident. She bit it or she scratched it. Tyler thought she bit it too. And I was like, no, those are scratch marks. She scratched major holes in it. Am I going to continue using it? Yes, because she did not pee on it. So it is still usable.
We'll take it.
And I'm still using it. But that little bitch.
Opie for the win. Opie is actually a deadly face mascot.
She really is. She really is. It's not
Kevin.
And I will say,
Opie.
No, it's not Kevin. We still love you, Kevin. Don't get mad at us, okay? I know. Stop it. It's all right. We'll talk later. Anyways. I will say, if you're thinking about getting bunnies though, I need you to stop and think for a second.
Use your noodle.
And I need
Brain
you to
noodle.
ignore every single cute Pinterest aesthetic bunny enclosure, okay? Because they just finished putting that together and it lasted a whole 30 goddamn seconds before the bunnies went in and caused havoc, okay?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes, they're potty trained. Yes, they only pee in their litter box, but like
Doesn't matter.
they chew on everything.
They're bunnies. They're busy
And
bunnies.
it's a lot. It's a lot, okay? So just think about it. I'm not saying no. I'm just saying really think about what you're getting yourself into, okay? I love them and I wouldn't do anything. I can't imagine life without them. But I'm glad I have like a stable home for them. Yes. Be well-rounded with your knowledge of bunnies before you bring one of these furry, cute little menaces home with you.
Well, I feel better now.
I do too. I need to go watch some Big Bang Theory and study because I have my 3rd anatomy and physiology test tomorrow. Wish me luck. Whoop, whoop.
She's got it.
I do. I've literally been studying for like 5 goddamn days. But I got this.
She's straight A. Look at her go.
I am. I got to keep that up. I guess like, okay, my palate cleanser could have been the fact that I get to what is it? Shadow. I get to shadow in a cath lab this summer.
Oh, yeah.
At our local hospital. I'm super excited. It takes like 6 weeks for your application process and background checks and everything.
Cath lab. Get the stents and the catheters up your heart.
Oh, yeah. I'm really excited to get to do that. So one day this summer.
It's up arteries, not a heart, whatever.
Well, same thing. Well,
connected. It's
heart
all
is
connected.
The entire thing. It's all connected. Anyways, but yeah, I'm excited to get to do that. So it's another palate cleanser.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excited to hear.
Anyways, we love you guys.
Yes, we love you.
I know I'm excited to talk about it. But yeah, we will see you guys in part 2. You kind of know what you're going to walk into for part 2. But it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. So just come prepared.
Just think about our palate cleansers. Don't think about how bad it's going to be.
grab a stuffy or your animal and just, listen to it while you pet your
boop them on the nose.
Actual real life. Boop them, kiss them. Anyways, drink some water, wipe your ass, and don't be a Joseph Fritzl.
Don't be a Fritzl Schitzel.
Don't be a Fritzl Schitzel. We'll see you guys in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.
Also, heathens, if you're enjoying the podcast so far, please remember to subscribe, like, follow, share, review, all the things. Please do something. Interact with us. Send us a message. I'm begging you. I love hearing from you guys. I'm always on the IG.
Yes, and comment where you heard us from, because we had somebody on YouTube today be like, oh my God, I found you guys through TikTok. So like, we're trying to amp up our social media, so it's working. So let us know where you're hearing us from or how you found us if you're a new listener, because we love to know what's working so we can keep making fresh content for you bitches.
We want to make more for you guys. We love you. We appreciate you. We want to talk to you. So holler at us. Call me, beat me if you want to reach me.
Yes!
The Starcast podcast is produced by Laci Bean and Lola Robbins and audio engineered by Eric Howell. Thanks for listening.